Welcome to Fit2B Radio, where we bring you all things fitness, core, and diastases recti related. While we're having this little chat, we hope you'll shuffle into your shoes, grab your water, and take us along for a walk while we talk. Or maybe you're listening as you make dinner, or drive, or do dishes. Hey, you can always work out with us later on Fit2B.com, where we have over 200 gorgeous, family-friendly, tummy-safe exercise videos ready for you to stream. Now let's get this show on the road.
You guys ready?
Yes.
Yep. All right.
Born ready.
Born ready. I love that.
I love your first one, though, when you're like, I wish I could just say all those things. I know. That is so bad.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Fit2B Radio. My name is Chris Benke, and I'll be your host today. I've got with us Beth Learn. She's the CEO and founder of Fit2B Studio. And we also have a guest that is coming to us from faraway land, Niamh Kenny. Thank you for joining us today. Super glad to have you on.
You're very welcome, Chris. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Of course. So I alluded to it, but where are you coming to us from right now?
I am in Dublin, in Ireland. Beautiful green Isle of Ireland. Yeah.
I love that. I love it. I love it. And how long have you been there in Dublin?
All my life. So very long time, 46 years now. Yeah. I haven't really gone much further afield. This is home. Feels good. But yeah, I live and work in Ireland. Yeah.
And are you in the city?
I live in the suburbs. I work in the city in the maternity hospital, and I work in a private clinic in the suburbs. So kind of in and out. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And you're a physiotherapist, and you said you work in the city. Can you fill us in a little bit of your background? It's awesome. Can you fill us in? Okay. Well, I've been a physiotherapist for 23 years, but I've been specializing in women's health the last 7 years. And I work in a maternity hospital, so I work with pregnant women and women after they've had babies. And we also have a gynecology section, so I work with women, older women who have issues with their pelvic floor, etc. And then I work in a private clinic, and in the clinic, I take what they call their women's health caseload. So I'm dealing with, I deal with men and children as well, but mostly focusing on women with pelvic floor problems. So pelvic floor issues is my speciality, and it's my passion as well. It's the reason I got into this work. Yeah, that is awesome. So crucial. Now, how did you and Beth connect? Well, when I started, how did I explain it? I started off doing women's health out of a personal interest for myself, and I started researching postnatal rehab. And when I was online, I came across the Tummy Team site and the work they were doing, and I signed up for the Tummy Team program for myself. And as I went through that program, I discovered Fit2B and signed up for that and started doing the workouts myself and loved them. I thought they were brilliant. So when I was recommending online stuff for my patients, I always recommended Fit2B, and I've gotten really good feedback from my patients. They love the fact that there's so much variety. They love the fact that they feel like they're in safe hands. They love the fact they can do it at home, and they can do it for 10 minutes or half an hour or whatever. They can pick whatever type of workout they're comfortable with, and they can even do stuff with their kids. I became a big fan of Fit2B. But it was basically through researching diastasis rehab about 7 years ago now. So, wow, that is awesome. So you've been familiar with us for 7 years. So we've changed a lot and grown a lot in that time. Awful lot. Yeah. So and that's one of the things I love about it. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I was just going to say one of the reasons I've stuck with Fit2B is that Beth seems to be following the same rabbit holes I'm following in terms of research and development, and she always keeps up to date. Because this is an area that's growing all the time, and we're learning all the time as physios and personal trainers. Yeah. We're learning more and more about the body and women's bodies. So I love the fact that Fit2B has kept up with that and reflects that. So I can always be confident my patients are getting the latest information and the best information. Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Right. So that kind of leads me to one of my first questions, which is, so you've been a professional in
in this field for a little while now, and it seems like there is a lack of information. But what have you seen change in the last few years? Have you seen more awareness? Are people more, like in the medical profession, more aware, more willing to talk about it, or is it still kind of a just deal with it situation?
That's a good question.
It really varies. So it varies. So some doctors and gynecologists are very aware of what women's health physiotherapists do, and they insist on their patients going to see a physiotherapist before they do rehab, before they do surgery, and that they do rehab afterwards with the physio. So they're very gung-ho. I remember talking to a group of doctors, trainee obstetricians, gynecologists, and telling them what we do and why we do it, etc., and the research behind it. And one of the senior doctors said to the rest of his team, he said, look, if you guys send your patients for physio, it'll make you look like a better surgeon. You'll get better results.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you got that, but then you also have doctors who think physiotherapy is a waste of time, and it's based on personal bias or maybe some negative experiences, I don't know. But they aren't as keen. They don't really understand what we do and why we do it.
Do you think that it's more? Do you think it's more female doctors that have maybe even had a birth that are more understanding, and male doctors are less, or is that just my kind of weird assumption?
Yeah, no, I haven't noticed a particular bias.
Okay.
I think I've met males
here in the States,
very pro, and some who aren't. Women. Yeah.
Here in the States, I actually feel like it's the reverse. And we've talked about this on a prior podcast, where women seem less sympathetic and the males seem more sympathetic. I mean,
that's so weird.
I hear more horror stories from women at the hands of their female gynaes than men, at least in my own circle. And I think that, like you said, it can vary. So one of the things we want to talk about is, like, if people are seeking physical therapy for these delicate things, we want to get more detailed in this podcast about what they can expect and what they should be looking for. We've touched on this here and there in prior podcasts, but we haven't devoted a podcast to it.
Okay.
So if they're looking for a good physio or physical therapist, as we call them here in the States, what are they looking for? What are some red flags if they call up a clinic? If they call 3 different clinics, who should they pick, and how should they know what to pick?
Okay.
And then what can they expect once they get there from, are they going to be touched internally, externally that first visit, things like that. So that's what we're going to dive into today.
Okay. So I suppose I would be looking for personal recommendations. I think that's your best line of attack. If somebody has been to somebody and they can say, yeah, they're good, I felt comfortable, thought they knew what they were doing. You can ask about their qualifications. Have they done any further training in women's health, in internal examinations? Even if you're not going to have an internal or don't need one, you want to know that the person has been trained and has the capacity to do an internal examination if it's appropriate for you. So there's lots of different courses that physiotherapists do around the world. So I guess you'd have to look at your country and see, well, what kind of courses would you expect? What would you be looking for? So I know in the States that Herman and Wallace is a big training group, so a lot of therapists in the States who are trained with them if they're going to do internal examinations. In Ireland, and do specialist training in pelvic floor dysfunction. So you're looking for those kind of words, and don't be afraid to ask what experience does this person have, how long are they doing it, etc. And then when you go, but I suppose it's really important that if you go to see somebody, that you feel comfortable with them, that you have a rapport with them. If they're in this line of work, they need to be good at putting people at ease. And if you don't feel at ease, well, then find somebody else, because it is very intimate. You are vulnerable. You want to feel that you are totally comfortable with them. And if you don't, for whatever reason, I would move on. to some other organization.
For sure. I can imagine walking into a clinic if I did not feel at ease. I'm not going to be able to relax mentally or physically down below. If they need to perform a pelvic exam, not being able to relax down there is going to make it harder, and it's going to make it more painful and uncomfortable when they do that exam. And it also may toss the results. You know, if maybe I don't have a hypertonic too tight pelvic floor, but they're not putting me at ease, and now I'm all clenched up, and they're not able to do anything. I'm like, well, this chick has a hypertonic pelvic floor. Maybe I don't.
Yeah, no, she's just freaked out.
Right.
So that's really, really important, that you do feel safe, you do feel comfortable, you do feel listened to, you do feel that they're going at your pace, they're respecting your privacy and your dignity. You know, I think that's really, really key. Yeah.
Right. You know, I get people that write in that want to be in our diastasis directory of experts. And it's not a huge directory. It really is. Our members have driven it. They have said, hey, I found this great person. It's not like other directories where anybody can just sign up for it with no vetting. We reach out to them, and the questions I ask are, who did you train under? Do you include crunches and planks in your early initial rehab? That's a big no-no for me. What else do I ask them? I ask them, you know, how long they've specialized. And there's a few other questions, but like those are the big ones, because I want to know, like, did you do specialized training? Where did you do it from? Who did you study under? That's another one. That's the other one. Like if they studied under the Tummy Team, or if they studied under Diane Lee, you know, those are all great ones. If they say Michelle Lyons, or I've, you know, Burrell Education, there's some really good names out there that I'm like, good, they're going to be solid.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we would have professional registers as well. So like in Ireland, we'd have the Irish Society of Chartered Physiotherapists. In the States, there'd be registers as well. We have a core registration. So you're making sure the person is fully trained. They haven't just set themselves up. I haven't come across anybody in Ireland who set themselves up doing this kind of work, but you just, in case you don't know, you want to make sure they're fully qualified and operating from the clinic. You were asking about what to expect when you go to see a physiotherapist for pelvic floor issues. So you'd expect they're going to ask you a lot of questions to begin with. We take a really detailed, what we call subjective history from the patient, and trying to find out what their symptoms are. And sometimes their symptoms are embarrassing for them to talk about, or they feel awkward about talking about them. So it takes quite a bit of time to draw those symptoms out and get them to talk freely about what's going on with their bladder, what's going on with their bowel, what's going on with their sex life, what's going on down there, basically. And we'll ask about their medical history, their surgical history, what their lifestyle is, what their goals are, because everyone's different. You know, not everyone wants to run a marathon. Some people just want to get through the day, you know. So it really depends on where they're coming from. And that takes time, and it takes, it said, confidence in the person, that you feel comfortable to disclose to them what they're feeling, what they're going through. Some people it's something small, and for other people it's huge, you know. So your therapist needs to have the sensitivity to be able to talk with you comfortably about those things. And being able to talk about it is so important, because what they tell you as a therapist is going to influence what happens next, and what kind of treatment you're going to give, and how you're going to give it, and what you're going to focus on. So a lot of the first treatment session will be taken up with talking through the issues and making sure that you've got what it is, you know, why is this person has come to you, what is it they need help with, are there any things that you can help with for them. It also involves a lot of education. So as you're asking questions, you're giving feedback, you know. So a lot of people don't know what good bladder and bowel habits are. They don't know what's normal. You know, they think that what's common is normal, but that's not necessarily, you know. So as I'm asking questions, I'm also chatting about what is a normal bowel motion, what is a normal frequency for going to the toilet, what's the normal fluid intake. what is the pelvic floor. So it'll often use props, like I have a prop here of a pelvis and a pelvic floor. We'll take out things like this.
There it is.
People go, take an intake of breath, you know, as we get to this area. But if we're going to treat it and learn about it, they need to know what it is and how it functions and what it looks like and how it does things that it does.
Right.
And based on what you find out from the patient, then you'll move on to examining them. And that may or may not involve an internal exam. Often patients are totally happy to have an internal and are ready for it or expecting it. Other patients are not so sure, and they may need time to go away and think about it. And, you know, there are things you can do without doing an internal exam. It doesn't have to be done, but it is best practice for assessing the pelvic floor to see exactly what's going on. They, you know, a therapist like myself, we're trained in doing vaginal examinations. So it's important that the person has the training to do that. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Are there any red flags, like are there any warning signs if they get into their meeting with the doctor for the first time? Are there any warning signs they need to be kind of aware of, like, oh, this person doesn't know what they're doing and they're not qualified?
Gosh, I'm not sure. I mean, I suppose I can't really imagine somebody doing that. So I haven't come across anybody doing internal examinations without qualifications, to be honest. It's stuff I've read about in the States where coaches were doing it inappropriately. It wasn't part of their scope of practice. Sports coaches,
like athletic coaches,
gymnastics coaches.
Oh, wow.
You know.
Yeah, that one gymnastics coach at that college.
Yeah. That's the only time I've ever come across. That was bizarre, and that was somebody with a lot of power. I haven't come across it generally, no.
Yeah. So weird, bizarre, you know, creep guys aside, it seems like the biggest problem isn't somebody not having the right training. It's probably more that women just don't go do it. They're just dealing with whatever their symptoms are, and they're not actually seeking out the help. Is that true?
I think that's a much bigger issue. Yeah, like there's a whole cohort of women who have symptoms, and they don't seek treatment due to embarrassment or shame. And then there's a whole cohort who don't seek treatment because they just think what they're experiencing is normal and they have to put up with it. Yeah. And then the other cohort are just too busy and they don't prioritize their own health and their own bodies, and they're too busy running around after everyone else. You know, so there's various reasons. The treatment isn't availed of as much as it should be or could be. Even like in Ireland, we have a public health system, and I treat a whole bunch of patients under the public health system. There's no cost involved for them, but you still get much lower numbers of people coming for treatment than you would expect. So there's all sorts of barriers. Sometimes it's the fact that they have a young baby and they can't get a sitter, and we always say, let's bring your baby. You know, unless it's a child that's crawling up the walls, and, you know, just bring your baby with you, and we'll do what we can.
Yes. I think that's a good thing to look for when you go to a clinic the first time, or even to ask on the phone, is do you allow babies? Just ask. And the tummy team, they have swings and carriers and boppies and all the things. And their receptionist, like when they were hiring a new receptionist, she was like, you got to be comfortable holding babies, because you will end up holding babies. And she is like, she'll come in. I filled in as the receptionist once at the tummy team, and nobody wanted to hand me their babies. But this lady, when she's the receptionist, people walk in and they're like, oh, they just like, she just exudes this baby warmth, and she'll just take them and hold, and it's beautiful. She puts women at ease instantly. I think there's also this weird mentality that I've run into, and I have sensed it in myself, and I sense it in my clients. They've actually said it too. If my doctor couldn't help me, what's a physical therapist going to do? You know, so they spend 15 minutes with their OBGYN. Their OBGYN says, you're going to need reconstructive surgery. Come back and see me after you have kids. Or, that's normal. You're a mom. You're going to pee your pants. What are you going to do? There's not much we can do about that. I was told that. I was told that by my OB. He was wonderful too. He was a great listener. He was the kind of guy that would come in, sit in a chair, fold his hands, and just listen. But then he would say, now I happen to know the same OB now refers all of his clients to physical therapy. And I didn't have anything to do with that. I'm not sure when he changed. But
like
there's this,
like the rest of us, you know, we're learning.
Yeah, it's like, well, if they think that doctors are, you know, top, and we forget that a doctor is not the same as a specialist. And a doctor's job should be to refer you to a specialist. A lot of doctors don't do that, like we mentioned earlier. And so then it kind of falls back on us as the person struggling with the issue to go find the specialist. Meanwhile, we're keeping 3 children alive, cooking all the meals, doing all the shopping, going to all the appointments, forgetting to eat food ourselves. I'm sorry, when are we supposed to find ourselves a specialist?
I know.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is. It's really tricky. And I guess we don't realize, I suppose, also the value of what a physiotherapist can do, and has such a good success rate with physical therapists in the pelvic floor. You know, studies will show between 70 to 90% success rate for treatment with a physical therapist for pelvic floor issues. That's massive.
Yeah.
There's no drug will give you those results. There's no surgery that is successful as that. And there's no risk or side effects. You know, there's so many benefits to it, you know. And, you know, sometimes people have been to somebody in the past and they think, oh, well, physio didn't work for me. But what you got to realize is that physios are learning all of the time. You know, so if you came to see me 6 years ago, what I would have done with you is quite different to what I would do now. And that's based on experience, training, and new information coming out. So we're learning all the time. So I wouldn't, sometimes people would dismiss it and say, I've tried it already. Well, yeah, maybe, but maybe not. Maybe there's more we could do for you, you know. And often women focus on the bladder issue, but they don't realize that we also treat bowel issues. We treat constipation. We treat we call flatal incontinence, which is where you can't control your wind. You know, you fart in public, you can't stop it.
You said flaky incontinent?
Flatal. Flatus is the medical word.
Flaky. I was like, flaky.
No. Flatal. So like flatus is the word for wind, when you pass wind.
Yeah, got it.
And, you know, and that can be a huge issue. Like I had a patient who was a barrister and she couldn't go back to work. She couldn't control wind in the courtroom. Yeah. You know, it's massive for her.
Oh dear.
We treat those problems as well as prolapse issues and sexual dysfunction, pain with sex, lack of sensation with sex.
Yeah.
All of those kind of things we work with, you know. It isn't just about doing a quick in-out check that you're doing your Kegels correctly and off you go, you know.
It's so much more than Kegels.
If one of the greatest problems is women themselves saying, hey, I really owe it to myself to go seek out a professional in this area and get some help. And then they're faced with their doctor that's like what you were saying, Beth, that's like, you know, it's just the way life is. What's your message to them? Because they're maybe even they're hearing this podcast, it's a little bit of a conflicting message. Plus on top of that conflicting message, it's just not, you know, you just don't necessarily want to go talk about all of these issues. But what would you say to that woman?
Well, I think you got to put value on yourself and your own health and realize that you don't have to put up with these symptoms and they can be helped. And it may take time, it may take effort, but it is so worth it. And often patients are nervous about talking about it or being examined, but nearly every single patient says that wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And I wish I'd done this sooner. And I'm going to go tell my friends, and I'm going to go tell my mother who's been suffering with these symptoms, and she had me, you know, and, you know, when they experience it, they're almost evangelistic about it. If they have the nerve. You know, some of them will never tell anybody else because they're still, feeling that sense of shame or embarrassment. But I have lots of patients who will go and tell other people. And one of my biggest sources of referrals is word of mouth, people saying, this is worth it, do it. I wish I'd done it sooner. You know, it makes such a difference. Like the amount of people who've given up exercising because they leak is crazy. You know, they're afraid to do any kind of exercise because they're having accidents.
That's where we come in.
They don't exercise. And then that just has a snowball effect on their overall health. So even if you're not, you know, you're not motivated by your pelvic floor issues directly, and you think, oh well, I'll just going to shrink my life in and I'll just manage it within this confine. You don't realize what you're doing to your overall health by doing that.
Right.
You don't realize how chained to the toilet you are. You know, or even, you know, sexual issues, people just put up with it and go, oh, well, you know, I don't have much of a sex life anymore, or I can't because it hurts. And it has massive impact on their relationships and their self-esteem and their psychological health.
Yeah.
So I would say go for it. I've done it myself. It's worth it. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty much, I'm guessing that pretty much every woman that was doubting and then just goes and does it, goes through therapy, gets help, they all say it was worth it, right? Like no one's like, man, that I shouldn't have done that.
I don't think
every
so.
now and then I hear from somebody who, in the States anyways, where physiotherapy for women, pelvic health therapy is not standardized, and they do have to pay out of pocket oftentimes. And so then if something doesn't go very well, it's even more of a sharp memory for them. You know, I have had women that haven't had some good experiences the first time. And even that, I would say, look, you're still worth trying again. And just because you had one bad experience with one person, okay, don't go back there. Let's find you somebody that does work. Let's find you somebody in my database, because, which is tough. You know, it can be hard to find the right person. You might have to drive an hour or two, but let me tell you, when you find the right person that can unlock your issues, that is gold. That is gold. That is a life-changing day. That's a good day trip.
And that goes back to your guys' earlier point where it is so important to make sure that you're working with the right professional, because you don't want, I mean, it's sensitive stuff and you don't want to put yourself through working with the wrong person for all the reasons. Even if it's just that the treatments take longer or they're not as effective as they could be, it's just a different way of robbing you from, you know, your health. And so it's important to work with the right professional for sure.
And we have a lot of power with our voices to say, no, that wasn't a good experience. Call the clinic, say, here's what happened to me. I didn't appreciate this. This isn't up to current standards. That's something about my clients, is they're all very educated now. And when they say, oh, I couldn't find somebody, so I went to this other person. They're not somebody that was in your thing, but I took a chance. It didn't go well. I'm like, I'm sorry. Call them back, leave a review, and say, this was completely substandard, and you guys need to up your game, and you need to get in touch, and you need to go get educated from XYZ. Spend 5 minutes to help that clinic up their game, but then let your feet do the walking. Because it kind of falls back on us as the consumers to say what works and what doesn't, and we can change things when we use our voices. And when we do complain in nice ways, you know, you can complain nicely and politely. Do it all the time.
I think it's important that you have, you know, obviously poor treatment aside, but say I follow a lot of patient discussion groups online. I learn a lot hearing patients' experiences, you know, and they'll compare and contrast what their physio did and what their physio did, and sharing different ideas back and forth, you know. And sometimes they'll say, oh, mine didn't do that, or yours did this, and mine did, you know, they'd kind of be querying the treatment. And if you have a query about the treatment and what's going on, you need to talk that through with your therapist as well. Because sometimes there can be a reason why they're focusing on one thing and not the other. You know, like oftentimes, like depending on where my patient is at, I will try and pick what their main goal is and what their main target is. And I'll also try and assess what they're able for, both physically and psychologically, you know. Like if I have somebody come into the room with a crying baby and I'm rocking the baby while I'm doing an internal examination and we're trying to juggle everything at the same time, I'm not going to be able to do an entire physical examination of that person. I'm going to pick 2 or 3 things that I think are top priority and focus on them. And I'll come back to the other stuff later when it's the right time. But if the person goes away and thinks, oh, the person didn't look at this, they didn't look at my diastasis, they didn't do this, they didn't do that, and feel let down, it may be you need to realize that's going to happen down the road, you know, one thing at a time, and doing the most important things first. And if you just have a conversation with your therapist, that might clarify that for you, instead of feeling that you were shortchanged or they didn't do everything they should do. You know, because
and that speaks to this kind of hero mentality that we put on our doctors and on therapists.
Yeah.
You know, we can come in with too many expectations and forgetting that your gynae may not be the person and isn't the person. They're not the specialist. They may be the person who delivers the babies and does the surgeries, and they're not the ones that does the therapy. So then you might go to your therapist expecting them to almost function like a doctor and fix me in 1 visit or 2 visits, because that's all I have time or money for. That's you know, you're coming to them with this massive health history and these layers of issues that are like an onion that needs time to peel back. But once they figure it out, and I would say if they don't have you sorted and at least figured out and on a path within at the most 3 appointments, I would give them 3. Like your first appointment, they're getting your health history. They may or may not do an exam. They're getting their bearings. You're getting a lot of information. Your second appointment, you know, there should be some leads. There should be some explanation, some ideas. Then you're testing it. Then you come back for a third appointment. Is it working? We've been doing this now. Is some of what you're doing working? What's not working? And then you should be, okay, this is working. This is not working. Now, where are we at? And if they're not being that proactive and that interactive, and you still feel lost between that second and third appointment, you need to sit them down and have a serious question time and answer with them, or you need to find somebody different. And that's hard when you've invested that time. But it's necessary, because you, people listening to this, you need exercise. Your bones need exercise. Your heart needs exercise. Your brain needs exercise. Your mind needs exercise. Your kids need you to exercise. If your body is not allowing you to exercise, that is a problem. So we got to get you sorted out.
I mean, I think, definitely by the third appointment, you should have an idea of where you're going and what the goal is and how we're going to get there. For some patients, only 3 sessions is all they need. Other patients need a lot more. You know, they need a lot of manual therapy, and they need a lot more time. And so it can be quite variable. Like usually, some patients I only see once. Some patients I see for up to a year, and that might be every 3 weeks, or every 4 weeks, or every 6 weeks. It really depends. But you should understand what's going on, what your therapist is trying to achieve. You should understand what their role is and what your role is. You know, we can't make your muscles stronger. You got to do the work. You know, we can guide you, but we can't wave a wand and just fix them. They do need exercise. They do need strengthening, and we're there to guide you through the process. But you should feel like a team with your therapist. And if you don't understand something, you need to say that and say, "I don't get it. I don't feel it. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know why I'm not getting better." You know, you're giving feedback all the time, so that we can help you more specifically, and also so we can learn as well. You know, and you know, sometimes you'll prescribe something as a therapist and try it, but you need to know if it's not working, so that you stand back and look again and go, okay, what am I missing here? Is there something else I can do? Is there a different approach I need to take? You know, and
that's such a good point.
Saying that back.
Yeah, if you as the consumer, as the patient, are going in and getting a list of things you're supposed to take home and do, and you don't do them, and then you come back and you say, this isn't working, or I don't know if it's working because I didn't do it, you've just wasted everybody's time. And that sounds harsh, but it's the truth, because now your person that you're coming to for help has no idea what to do next with you, because neither of you know if what they asked you to try is working. And sometimes it is like, you know, like you're in the dark at first with somebody because everybody is different. The same protocol doesn't work for everybody. That's why I refer people to PT, because even on Fit2B, we're the fitness piece of your core strengthening and rehabilitation. But I am doing these videos and I can't reach through, and you need somebody to look at your body with you and give the snowflake thing, set of exercises, set of motions, set of breaths, all the stuff that you personally need. And it really does vary. You know, what's coming to mind right now as we wrap up is my little sister seems to attract car accidents. She gets in like a car wreck once a year, I swear.
Oh my goodness.
It's not that bad. Like, I am not, I don't know. She gets rear-ended all the time. I don't know how that's even possible. And every time, you know, she goes in for chiropractic care and some physical therapy, and we'll sit down and we'll go out to dinner, you know, a few times a year, and she'll be telling me about her latest thing. And it's always like this. My first appointment, I was still hurting, but I felt better. Okay, I went to see this one guy and I felt worse after him. I'm going to go see this other guy again. And it's like we understand that after an accident or after a severe injury, you need to go get help for that. And you need to put the time in, and you may have to go to the chiropractor quite a bit to get your body to hold those adjustments in those early stages of healing. And I think we have some disconnect, though, when it comes to postnatal and post-birth. We've been through this massive thing. It's going to take a while, several appointments. Some people maybe 3 or 4. Some people, they may need an entire year of going back in and sorting things back out. And, oh, this new thing cropped up. We adjusted this and we fixed this, but now this is asking for help. We need to now address this, because it's like those layers of an onion.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy how people think they should bounce back from a 9-month experience and then a dramatic change in their body, such as giving birth. They should bounce back from that in 6 weeks. You know, it's nuts. Your body can't do that, and it takes so much time for it to heal and strengthen and recover from it. And as physiotherapists, we're there to guide you through it. And some people just need a few tweaks and a few points in the right direction. Other people need serious rehab because they've had an injury, and they need time. They need expertise to work on that scar tissue, to get those things, those muscles moving again, to wake up those nerves, to get that rib cage and pelvis back in alignment. Like, there's so much to work on. And if it is going on longer term, you know, you do need to be able to create the time and space to work on it yourself at home as well. You know, I'm forever beating this drum with my patients that they have to do the work at home themselves. I can only help them. I can get them over stumbling blocks, but you got to do the work. And I'm preaching to myself, just because I'm a therapist who specializes in women's health doesn't mean that, you know, everything in my body that way is working as well as it should. I've got to do the work. I got to take responsibility for it. You know, me too. So I just look at that. I just relaxed my shoulders. That's an ongoing thing for me.
Well, Niamh, thank you for spending some time with us. I know that there's an app and you've got some resources that are out there. Where is the best place for people to find more of you?
More of me, I have a Facebook page, Niamh Kenny, Pelvic Health Physiotherapy. You can contact me on there. And then there's a website for the clinic I work at called cityphysio.ie. And you can contact me through there as well.
Okay. And we'll put those in the show notes. And good resources. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.
Awesome.
Good golly, Miss Molly, if that didn't give you something to chew on, I don't know what will. Thanks for listening. I really hope you join our community over at Fit2B.com, where you can gain access to all our exercise videos and fitness e-courses. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to Fit2B Radio, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Fit2B, on Instagram at Fit2B Studio, and on Facebook via Fit2B Tummy Safe Fitness. See See you soon.